Hello my friends, and welcome to the first episode of In the News. This is a new bi-weekly series that me and my good friend Cameron Bryce are doing, in which we're going to talk about obviously what's in the news, but more importantly, what's not in the news. What are they hiding for us? What are these bastards not telling us? And what a great chat we had to kick things off. We covered so many topics, and of course the invasion of Ukraine was a major talking point. And by the way, I do just want to say this podcast was recorded on the 27th of February, so if anything is out of date, it's because of that. You know, I do mention that because in this we talk about how scary it is for the first time that there's a nuclear power plant in a war zone. But obviously since then at least one of them have been set on fire, so you know, these things do move pretty quickly. Scarily quick actually. But yes, as always, look, if you fancy supporting the podcast and you wish to do so for free, all you have to do is just drop us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever platform you're using to put our words into your little gorgeous ear holes. But look, see also if you do fancy supporting us with your cold hard cash, I'm not going to stop you for doing that either. All you have to do is check us out on Patreon at www.patreon.com/Radical Radio Scotland. Over there, you can support us for as little as £2 a month, right? And that's such a small amount that Patreon said to me, mate, what are you doing? What, like, you're not making any money off it? That's nonsense. Why would you do that? Make it at least free. And you know what I said? I said, fuck you, Patreon. Don't tell me what to do. You're not my mum. I didn't actually say that. None of that happened. What actually happened was something popped up and it said, don't do that, mate. And I said, Patreon, I'm only going to say this once. Why don't you go and burn in a lava pit and just stop howling at me like a mad capitalist banshee, alright? If I want to make this £2, I'll make it £2. Do you know why? Because I want everyone to be included. I'm not pricing people out. Come in, join the party, let's have a laugh and overthrow the current socio-economic order that's currently oppressing so many people. But yeah, I feel like I did kind of digress there, so I'm going to get back on track. And you know what? See, with all of that said, let's just join the news teams where you are. I think we should probably just start this with expressing our solidarity with the people of Ukraine and all the refugees who have been forced to leave due to the evils of war, and of course those in Russia, like all the anarchists and just people who are actually have the balls to protest in a Putin dictatorship. That's mad. I don't even know if I could do that.
No, it's genuinely scary. Like I don't know. I don't know an awful lot about current like Russian politics, and I was reading the other day about how like there is a lot of that where it's just been Putin's Russia for a long time, and there's a lot of like general apathy because I mean, how do you fight against that? It's like total authoritarian like regime, with their actions and with the way that the police work and stuff like that. It's so scary to think about fighting against that, and well.
Yeah.
Don't know, where do you even start dealing with it?
Fuck that. Fuck that so much. I think as well, like I think the leader of the opposition in Russia has been arrested like numerous times in the last few years. At least I've read that.
Yeah,
Anyways.
I'm not surprised at that.
And if that's like the organised opposition in a political institution, what chance does an ordinary person have? So like yeah, people out there protesting that, fair play. Fair bloody play.
Well done.
Do you think this is World War III?
Oh mate, I really hope not. I don't know. See because this is on like a podcast, I'm probably gonna try and be like really calm about it, right? But see, like sitting in the flat watching things come in, it is so scary thinking about that. We've not had that sort of people who grew up with the Cold War. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I don't think I've ever had a conversation with like even my dad and stuff about it. Like, what did you think that bombs were going to get dropped and the world would end.
Yeah.
But this is the first sort of. I mean, there's no like direct threat to us, obviously, and there's people who are going through like actual war, but it's like Russia versus the West. It's a story that gets like played up and stuff like that about.
A tale as old as time.
that's when like when that war properly kicks off, as in direct conflict and direct nuclear war. That'll be the end. That's scary. I don't want to think about it. So yeah.
Do you know? I was reading a speech by Subcomandante Marcos, who was saying that this was in 1997, and he was saying that the Third World War's already happened. So he was saying that the Cold War was the Third World War.
Third World War.
And
it makes sense.
Yeah, I'd like never thought of it before, but
sorry,
that's alright. I was just going to read what he said because it was pretty on the money. He said, if the Third World War saw the confrontation of capitalism and socialism on various terrains and with varying degrees of intensity, the fourth will be played out between large financial centres on a global scale and at a tremendous and constant intensity. The misnamed Cold War reached very high temperatures, from the catacombs of international espionage, to the what's that word? Sidereal space of Ronald Reagan's famous Star Wars, from the sands of the Bay of Pigs in Cuba to the Mekong Delta in Vietnam, from the unbridled nuclear arms race to the savage coups in Latin America, from the reprehensible manoeuvres of NATO armies to the intrigues of CIA agents in Bolivia, where Che Guevara was assassinated. All of these events culminated in the collapse of the socialist camp as a world system and in its dissolution as a social alternative. So, like, what I kind of like, that was written in 1997, right? And what I kind of took away from that was that just kind of, obviously, like, sanctions have been happening for centuries, for as long as like humans have traded. Really, they've probably tried to stop their enemies from trading.
Yeah,
but I thought that was so on the money. I think it's quite a Western view to disregard the Cold War as not being a world war, but it was like affected so many people across so many countries. Like, if you just look at a list of who the USA have bombed and like during the Cold War,
yeah, I know.
How can you not call that a world war? Even Russia as well.
But that's the thing about what. Well, that's the thing about war until there's so much like lies and manipulation that went into sort of everything that you mentioned there. That, I mean, people get whipped up in like this sort of like propaganda machine and fall into beliefs that just shit that have been forced upon them. So when people don't directly see it as like a direct like international war, well, yeah. People don't see that as being like a world war because of what their image of that is. That's the only reason why it's not seen as that, because I mean, it absolutely is. So when you lay everything out, everything that happened and stuff.
Yeah. So that speech was actually titled "The Fourth World War," and obviously in it says the fourth will be played out between large financial centres with varying degrees of intensity.
Yeah.
Which is like basically what we're seeing with all of these sanctions that are going on.
I know. Wait, did you see that? Wait, this is scary. What was this? Was it that? I didn't read this article.
Just the headline.
I just saw the headline when I was like scrolling, and I was like, what? It was something about like the next step, and like I think this must have been America, was, or something was getting to treat like large multinational companies as on the same level as like countries in terms of like international rights to I guess, negotiations and trading.
Oh, really?
Yes, which is really scary, right? Which is why I didn't read the article.
That makes sense. But also,
Nah.
like, is it not already like that though? So,
Yeah,
like, in
but
the
again,
US, at least, a corporation has the same rights and laws as a person.
as a person, I know, but I guess it's the same. It's the same thing as we spoke about with the like world wars and the Cold War not spoken about as World War III and stuff like that. Is see when it's not in people's faces and I don't know, and that narrative has been not like stopped from being pushed,
Yeah.
then it's not going to get sort of regarded as that until there's some sort of like overt, direct,
Threat.
yeah,
Yeah.
of the like the sort of completion of that move to I don't know, be a country or something. That's crazy.
Yeah, you're right. Like, yeah, it's been mad to see the propaganda machine in full flow with this. Because, I mean, the US has been airstriking Somalia for the last 14 years.
Yeah,
Like, this week there's been like 37 Saudi Arabia airstrikes in Yemen, with like 23 million people facing famine in Yemen. I don't like how is that being so disregarded. It's unbelievable. And that's obviously it's been disregarded because
it suits the West for the people to be upset at
yeah,
Russia.
yeah, they're selling their arms there. But I seen as well. This was quite an interesting thing that I seen. Like, do you know that Redfish account?
um,
So people,
well, I don't know.
it's
You
like
tell me, I'll
just
look
that
up
it's
just
just like
now.
a political Instagram account, right? And it published a map, and it was like what had happened in the last 48 hours. So it said like Russia had airstriked Ukraine. It said
Oh
that
yeah,
US
yeah,
had airstriked Somalia, and Israel was airstriking Syria.
yeah.
And lots of people were sharing that, but I was like, when I was looking at that as well, I was like, that's Russian controlled media. It's like state controlled media in Russia, and they've missed out so much stuff that also Russia have done. So they've kind of been like, yeah,
Who
we
redfish?
yeah, Redfish. So they did like we did this one thing in Ukraine, but then if you look at the West and their allies, they've done all of this. So, like for example, they had Israel have been airstriking Syria and
Yeah.
Damascus, but Russia have been airstriking Syria since like 2015. It's like it's just yeah, and I think there's just I've not witnessed social media being used
it's
like this
so
during a
scary, mate.
war.
Yeah,
It's like the propaganda machines on both sides are turning, and I think it's so easy to get sucked into that because I looked at that and I was like, oh, that's a good point. And then I was like just thinking about all of the conflicts behind each point, and I was like, oh, like whatever the West have been doing, Russia's probably airstrike the same place in support of the alternative.
I know. I saw. I'm not sure what account it was from, um, but I'm sure it was from like a. Oh, I don't know what it was from. From a communist perspective, though, and it was talking about it was like it started off being obviously anti Putin, um, and that like they like sort of obviously condemning like the invasion and sort of highlighted that he was like an oligarch and stuff. But then I went straight on to talk about the provocations from NATO, and that's a big part of why this happened. And I was just like, that is like true. Like it's what is geopolitical like sort of happenings. And but I finished it and I was like, but like surely that like both sides are like terrible. There's people caught in the middle of this, and like nobody like none of the people who are actually in control of that situation are like being catalysts in that situation give a fuck about them. Like surely those are the people. Like why? It just annoyed me seeing like a sort of like a political point, and I don't even understand the political point. from a communist point of view. Putin's not communist.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That frustrated me. Like, both sides are equally as bad as each other.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I mean, I do see why it's happened, because it was part of, like, when the Soviet Union ended, that was the agreement that they made, and the USA have, like, provoked them since
I
then,
know.
like, genuinely since then, and it's not to, like, excuse Putin's behaviour in any way, but they know what they've been doing. Like,
yeah, no, I know exactly. But that's the thing. There was talking about. I know, but I just see. I don't know. I was like, surely more emphasis here should be on.
it's more nuanced than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, the current CIA director, William J. Burns, said in 2008, Ukraine and Georgia's NATO aspirations not only touch a raw nerve in Russia, they engender serious concerns about the consequences for stability in the region. Not only does Russia perceive encirclement and efforts to undermine Russia's influence in the region, but it also fears unpredictable and uncontrolled consequences which would seriously affect Russian security interests. Experts tell us that Russia is particularly worried that the strong divisions in Ukraine over NATO membership, with much of the ethnic Russian community against membership, could lead to a major split involving violence or, at the worst, civil war. In that eventuality, Russia would have to decide whether to intervene, a decision Russia does not want to have to face. And that was in 2008. Do you know what I mean? Like, the US have known about this for so long.
Yeah.
And yeah, they've definitely, like, yeah, there's no excuse for Putin doing that, but at the same time, it is just like a geopolitical response.
I know.
I
know. But the reason, I mean, I see it, honestly, I think the reason that I find it so hard to fall on, obviously not any side of this, because what I mean by that is I just despise the way that the way that the world is at the moment. Do you know what I mean? Like the fact that like we've still this feels like so like cringy, but like we've still got war going on all over the world, and it's caused constantly by like external powers,
yeah.
like playing with money. And this is just another fucking huge thing with just people caught in the middle. I'm just tired of it.
Yeah, me too. Well, like, genuinely, there's no need for this at all.
No,
But
no.
do you know what I think is quite wild about all of this as well? I mean, did you see that banner that those Scottish people had?
The
I
one that,
putting on your trolley, you glick it looking huffy wee poppy. Absolute
yeah.
goons, man.
I know. It's like, well, I've got. Do you think that that's nah? Because nah.
Do you know what? Do you know what I think it
do you
is?
think that's part of like Reddit culture? That's what our response is.
No, genuinely no, because I think it's such a lazy take on what's happened. See, to put it
That's
down
true.
to Putin,
That's so
and
true.
like, it kind of falls into the category of, like, see, people that are pure psychoanalyzing Putin and going, oh, he obviously wasn't loved enough when he was a kid to be going out doing war and that.
Yeah.
Like, I think that
He's just moved the next chess piece. There's
yeah.
been NATO and that have been moving the pieces before him.
Yeah, and like, see if you take Putin out of that role, he holds no power. It's the institution and the role that has given him this kind of ability to act in this way. It's not because he wasn't loved as a child and that. I don't, he probably wasn't, right? Because
I wouldn't love him.
wow. No, but what I mean is, like, to go out and seek a position of power like that is obviously something must have went wrong, but to put this whole thing down to his mental stability or health or whatever is just such a lazy argument, I think. And I can tell you, like, see that banner? So I'm just looking at it again. The Photoshop of like putting balls on his chin is so bad. It's so bad, right? But
I actually think that's the best bit about it.
it's funny, right?
Yeah.
But I did read a tweet and it was talking about the appropriation of Ned culture and putting it like talking like that on a banner, on a political banner.
Oh, I don't know. That's
Because
not. I don't
mate,
think
there's no way that the people that made that banner speak like that.
How many Neds have you heard that have used the word glaikit?
That's what I mean.
Is it not? Is it not just a? It's just a Scots thing. It's not. It's not like
I
I don't know. I
don't know,
don't know.
man.
It's Scots like.
It's just so. Oh man, you're right though. The balls on the chin is probably the best bit. Like, see if it was just that, I'd love that, mate.
It is.
That'd be so good.
It is. No, you're right. It is quite embarrassing. I hate it. Like the. It's just shit. It's not funny. Like, it's funny. It's funny to laugh at it, but like come on, you've not actually sat and thought that out and then like got it printed up.
I know. Do you know what it
It's not
reminded me of?
But
See that the news article that came out today. What was it? It said Putin has ordered his military command to put Russia's nuclear nuclear deterrence forces on high alert.
yeah,
And then I was reading through the replies, and someone had replied with a picture of Putin topless fishing and photoshopped a pair of tits on him. That just reminded me of that. I'm like, this is something so serious. He's actually talking about getting his nuclear arsenal ready for defence, and obviously, like, you can't take that at face value. You need to take that with like a pinch of salt. What he means by that, it's obviously probably not defence. Do you know what I mean?
uh-huh.
And for you to reply a picture, like a Photoshop picture of him with tits, it's like
It's I watching something like on this scale, that has such heavy coverage unfold on social media has been like mind blown.
yeah,
There's been so many there's been all sorts of stuff. Do you know what I think? Like there's always stuff, and you're like, this is mental. Like this is crazy when you see footage from war zones and stuff like that on social media. But every single time something else comes along, like, everyone's like, oh my god, this is amazing. So I think that's what this is partly as well. But it's crazy seeing everything and having like a 24-hour live stream of like information. It's actually quite this is like from a privileged point of view, because I'm not involved in any of that, and it's not affected my life in any sort of way. But it's draining having that coming through. It was the same with COVID.
yeah.
There's constant information about it, and like sad.
Humans aren't meant to live this way.
Aye,
Like,
it's this has been such a depressing podcast episode.
yeah, I go.
This has been like so sad, and like yeah, this is a pure dark moment in like human history. We're just living it. We're just living it.
Yeah. Did you see that they found a pterodactyl in Skye?
What a transition.
Just try to cheer up a bit.
Alive?
Mate, I'd honestly, we wouldn't be doing this podcast right now if it was alive. I'd be up there.
Is that their Nessie?
It's the largest one ever found.
Really?
Yeah.
Have they found any other animals? Any other dinosaurs?
I think they've got a few haggis up there.
Have they found any other like fossils? I'm presuming it.
Yeah, I think Sky's.
Didn't really answer me clearly. Presuming fossils.
Yeah, it's obviously fossils. I think Skye's like a pure hotspot for dinosaur bones. I know that they've got a beach there that's got, like the Brontosaurus, like the pure massive one with the long necks. I know they've got like footprints. They've got a beach there that's got like covered in footprints. I wanted to make a video about it actually for my YouTube channel. But yeah, going back to the Ukraine stuff, I feel like we kind of. I don't think we've done that justice there.
Why would you go back?
Because there's still more that we have to talk about it.
I know, that's true. It
There's
is
like,
very sad though.
it is sad, it is depressing, but I think a lot can be learnt from it.
Can we mention the sort of the plus side or the positive side rather of social media when stuff like this is going on? Is you get to see the people who are like truly hard as fuck.
Yeah.
Just like having been invaded by one of the world's superpowers, and like you see the video. I don't know if I sent you on Twitter. The guy lifting a mine from under a bridge with a lit fag in his mouth, and like.
Oh really?
Wait,
that's nuts.
I'll send you it right now. How mad's that? What was it? One of the first things I remember, like the first things, it was only a few days ago, about the was the woman offering the Russian soldiers sunflower seeds, put in a pocket and grow when they're dead.
Oh yeah, I did read that actually. I don't think you sent me that. Was that not like was that a granny as well that said that?
I think so. Where are you? Harry, send it.
Did you see the? Well, I mean, obviously you seen the Snake Island thing as well. That was heavy cool.
Go fuck yourself.
Yeah, Russian warships, go fuck yourself. That's mad.
Fair play to those heroes. That's they were like murdered shit after that. So yeah, legends. Have you got that video? Unbelievable.
I do have that video. What the fuck? It's actually smoking a fag. Whilst carrying a landmine.
I know, mate. So impressed.
What the fuck? But I suppose war must have been like that all the time. Must have been just smoking fags constant.
Smoking fags. Yeah, well, true. Cigarettes are class.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah, that's hard. It's hard to look on the positive side of
something so horrible.
What's going on, but yeah. What do you think about the antics of the Ukrainian prime? Is he prime minister?
Yeah. No, president.
The president.
Yeah.
Yeah. President.
What do I think about his antics? What?
Yeah, well, staying behind in Kiev because, to be honest,
I mean they are out to kill him. That's essentially what they want. Regime change, don't they?
That's yeah, it's interesting. I actually I know nothing about him and his politics.
Do you know?
No, other than I know that he was like an actor.
He was a comedian.
He was a comedian.
Did you not mind like? I seen a blind boy tweet about this and I was like, no way is that the same guy? He tweeted like, I've just realised that it was like 2013 Ukraine elected a comedian as their president and everyone was pure laughing at it. It's the same guy.
Comedians, I wouldn't mind having a comedian. It would depend on the comedian as like not like it would be awful. See like Jimmy Carr.
Yeah.
He would just be the same as what we have now.
But then, like, say, Frankie Boyle would be a bit better than that. At least he's got, like, pure solid leftist politics.
That's true. Do
you think he would get rid of the position of Prime Minister or President?
Frankie Boyle?
Yeah.
Would he get rid of it? Yeah, I don't know. We should get him on the podcast and ask him.
Yeah. I mean... obviously he does that what's it called, New World Order, and his politics are pure solid, but I think it's really, have you never watched that? It's heavy good, but it's always talking about like things that he's against. It's always like Tories and that, but I never kind of see what he's for, if that makes sense, ideology wise and all that. But
I know. That's what I was going to say, because I mean, is that not on the BBC?
yeah, but
It's going to be the extent of what you're going to see is going to have been like BBC or Channel 4 approved. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but I mean,
we will definitely need to get him on this podcast.
he gets away with a lot.
It does.
On that, it's like it definitely brings up stuff about Israel and things like that, which you wouldn't really expect to see in the BBC.
That's true.
Which is mad.
I need to take off my jumper.
That's fine.
I will be like 10 seconds.
Oh, this is so long, man. Hurry up.
And go back.
Did you see that Facebook? Well, obviously, like all of this kind of kicked off properly in 2013 because there was a coup in Ukraine.
Yeah. Do you remember when we joined like the youth amnesty in school? And
Was
that
it?
was what we
In sixth
yeah,
year?
that was what and that was what we chose to be our campaign to highlight.
What were we highlighting?
That there was a war going on in
Right,
Ukraine.
yeah.
It's amnesty.
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah. But like obviously that came out of that, there was like neo-Nazi battalions and that.
Yeah.
And Facebook like banned any positive praise of them for like after that, because they can't be seen to be encouraging neo-Nazis, even though they've done that like so much.
I was going to say.
Yeah. It got to a point where I think they were like so overtly Nazi that it was too bad for even Facebook.
Yeah, well, I mean the kind of scary looking symbolism on their flags.
Oh, it's like outright Nazi symbolism, is it not? Which is pretty nuts.
Yeah.
But Facebook have like they've went back on that. You're now allowed to praise them again.
Great. Thanks, Facebook.
Which is like a pure mental like there's so many different developments like that have came from this.
Yeah, well, I'm not surprised that Facebook are like not the good guys.
Yeah. They don't really consistently align themselves with good guys, do they?
No.
Do you know what as well? Seeing like I think it was last year, maybe last like December, so 2-3 months ago, Ukraine and the US were the only countries to vote against a Russian resolution against neo-Nazis at the UN.
Ukraine were?
Yeah, Ukraine and the US. They both voted against it. But I think that was Putin trying to get like, mate, geopolitics is not my forte, but I think it was Putin trying to lay the groundwork. So because that's what he was saying in his invasion speech, wasn't it? Like saying that Ukraine was run by Nazis and he's there to liberate people and whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah. But it's just mad to think, like, imagine voting against a resolution against neo-Nazis.
Against Nazis is fucking mental. What I don't understand why that conversation needs to be had.
I know.
Unless you're having that conversation with Nazis.
Yeah.
Because they're obviously going to be pro-Nazi. Do you know what's really funny? I'm just looking at the notes that you sent me for this, and you've said in it, Ukraine president is that comedian from 2013.
How's that funny?
Because it's just embarrassing that I had like
right.
that, and then you've got that. I've been like, oh.
That's why I didn't want to send you the notes beforehand, because I wanted your genuine reaction to mental things like that.
That's fair. Wait to see what I bring to the table next time.
I thought you were going to like prepare bullet points and shit.
Yeah, well, wouldn't we all like to do that? Some of us are.
Oh, yeah, we get it.
Some of us are lazy.
Oh, I thought you were going to. Doesn't matter. How mad has the British government's response to all this been?
Well, I saw this afternoon that did you see Boris Johnson did like apparently has done like a fake like photo op at
Oh, I did see that.
some RAF base or something like that,
So
and then the plane at like supposedly sending stuff over, like I don't know if it was like military aid or what, over to Ukraine, and then people tracked the flight as like circling over Poland and then coming back or something
yeah, so
crazy.
in response to this, because obviously Ukraine aren't in NATO, which is why there's not been like a military response from the West and like NATO.
But can I ask like again, I mean I saw this on Twitter, that there was something in the sort of like treaty for denuclearization of Ukraine. Part of that being that I don't know if it was like the EU or whatever, I don't know when, would protect Ukraine from this sort of thing from happening.
Yeah, I'm sure that was in the treaty, and I think that's why like all of them have sent arms.
Yeah, well,
Even Germany, which Germany like they were opposing sending arms for so long.
yeah, that's true. I saw that today.
See the article I read for that. Literally, the headline was like, Germany are sending arms to Ukraine in a historic move," and then like the sub headline was, "They haven't done it because of what they did in World War Two." I was like, that's just such a weird way to phrase it.
Wow.
But yeah, no, there was that like there was that kind of stipulation in the treaty, but I don't think it kind of meant that they had to assist them with people like boots on the ground.
That's
It's
true.
more just like weapons and that. But the photo op that Boris Johnson done, that was related to NATO are like fortifying their eastern border, so they've sent like loads of troops to Poland and Estonia and all of these places that are in NATO.
Yeah.
All of these places weren't. I don't think they were meant to join NATO either, because obviously they were part of the USSR. I don't. Well, when I say that they weren't meant to, like that's what the agreement was when the USSR collapsed. That I think it was like NATO weren't to expand 1 inch to the east, and like Ukraine just seems to be the last straw for that. But I also seen another thing that was saying that it's kind of because the north of Ukraine is so flat that all of the
It's the European plains or something like that,
yeah the North European plain.
where Russia have been invaded like via twice before.
Yeah,
And apparently they're a bit touchy about anybody making moves down there.
yeah, it would appear that way.
And now they've started getting grabby.
Yeah,
That's my summation of of Russia and Ukraine.
Russia are a
Very,
bit grabby.
very brilliant then.
Yeah, no, you're right. But that photo op that Boris Johnson done was mental.
I'm not surprised anymore. It doesn't feel like this seems. I hate I kind of hate saying stuff like this because I don't want it to sound like I don't know. The next step would be being like, oh, I miss. You know, you see people like Boris Johnson doing things, and people being like, "Oh, we don't know how lucky we are to have like Theresa May,
Oh wow, really?
and David Cameron and stuff like that." Yeah, it's so embarrassing, as if they weren't fucking horrific human beings and leaders.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel like Boris Johnson is like a real politician. I think,
Yeah,
and
I know what you mean by that.
doesn't make him any better or worse. It's just you don't really know what's going to happen. It's difficult to like. It's not making you. I don't know. That's why I'm saying it doesn't make you miss other politicians. It just makes things a bit fucking mental. It was the same with Trump, obviously. Like they're not. You know, with like actual politicians, you can be like, right, okay, well, obviously depending on their political leaning, okay, they'll probably go this far, they'll probably go that far, or they'll probably say this. or they'll probably say this to save face, or they'll probably do this to save face. Nobody cares anymore about
Yeah.
saving face because
There's
they
no
can just
rule book.
just say what they want and get away with what they want. All the stuff with the Boris Johnson's parties. Everybody knew this was going to happen, but that's gone, at least from the news.
Yeah, it's gone. I think as well that's helped a lot of people who just see not the person but the state.
That's true.
Like the government.
Yeah, because you're not watching Boris Johnson operate, you're watching the people around him operate and be this sort of weird puppet figurehead.
Yeah. It's the first time I've proper noticed that as a phenomenon.
Yeah.
I've been aware of it, definitely know that it was how the state actually operated, and these people hold no power out with their positions. It's only relational to the position they hold, but it's still like you said, if there's still that human aspect behind it where they kid on to have dignity or respect for people or whatever, and will resign over something bad they've said.
Yeah,
with all of that gone, it just reduces that down back down to the state.
I don't have see talking about when people talk about that, they'll talk about respect for the office, and it's difficult to come at that from a point of view where the whole Westminster system is absolutely rotten, and talking about respecting the office of Prime Minister of the UK is as you said before about someone else we're talking about, it's there's nuances to it, but still having there's now no respect for procedure, right? Which is the way that organisations need to work. It's the same for it's the same for everything. Unions, workplaces, whatever. There's some sort of there's roles to play to make sure things get done and people are held accountable.
Yeah.
And now that doesn't happen at all. So they're what? Do you know what I mean? No,
yeah.
It doesn't need to mean there's a hierarchy. The opposite, people should be held directly accountable and not just fucking get away with things because of the position that they hold. It's actually I don't know how you come back from this, because it feels I don't know. That's just the way politics is, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, just feels like I don't even know how to explain it, but I get what you mean. Have you read Sapiens yet?
No, it's sat on my shelf staring at me. I'm still reading my football books.
Panini sticker albums. Just your pictures.
Some of the Euros. But it's a good it's good football books. What's the one I've got just now? It's behind me. It's called Zonal Marking by Michael Cox, who is, I think he's the he's some sort of editor for The Athletic. It's really, really good. It's really interesting. You should read it. What were you going to say about Sapiens?
What was I going to say about Sapiens? Yeah, that just talks about the how these corporations and that don't actually exist. They only exist they're stories that we tell each other, and because we all believe in the stories, that means that they exist.
It's like money.
Yeah, like money as well. For example, I think the book actually uses Boots as an example, and it's Boots the chemist in the UK. It doesn't actually exist. It's just that you've got a picture and you've got loads of people going into it and buying stuff from it, and that gives it the legitimacy. And I think it could possibly be a good thing that this legitimacy is being lost from institutions that have brought so much war, death, poverty.
Do you think we're seeing a tide turning and people starting to realise sort of the bullshit of the world?
I want to say
Not
yes, but
not necessarily, but not doesn't mean the tide has turned and that people are there's going to be like a revolution. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
But I just mean that there's some things that now are starting to fail in our society because of the way it's been set up, and people are starting to go, hold on a fucking second. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
Just for like little things.
You would. I want to say yeah. I think kind of, and I think. I mean, we're definitely seeing the deterioration of systems. People know that it's not viable for much longer, and I think it's more important to spend all of our time trying to establish systems that are going to help people through the kind of transition of collapse that's going to happen.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
obviously, they've caused so much distress for the world, climate change, all of that, and whatever. But also, when those systems end, it's going to plunge a lot of people into more poverty. And
Yeah.
we have to spend a lot of time trying to develop alternatives now. I think the phrase is building a new society in the shell of the old is really, really what we should be focusing on.
Well, we've got a lot of work to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
We're
starts
fucked,
next week.
basically. Which is not.
Nah, don't worry. We'll get
The
we'll get
laughter
Frankie
is the laughter is copium.
we'll get Frankie Boyle to be our prime minister, and he'll sort it out. And me and you can be his Nick Clegg.
I would kill myself before being anyone's click.
Yeah, well,
He's like
so
mental high up in Facebook now.
I saw that. I actually
Like
saw that the
he's
other
like
day.
Mark Zuckerberg's right hand man.
That actually like freaked my noggin, mate. That was it was one of those ones where like you're just scrolling, and then I was like, what? And then I scrolled past it, and I was like, no, wait, what? Yeah, is that what I saw from it was Mark Zuckerberg was taking like a minor step back. I'm guessing because of like everybody hates him and thinks he's a weirdo. So letting sort of people who, I mean, politicians kind of make sense for like they literally get people to vote them into some sort of power, and make politicians kind of make sense for like a face to a certain
Yeah.
extent, especially. Well, Nick Clegg's a foreign politician, and I reckon like Americans, in the wider sense, are like, oh, there's an English guy.
Yeah.
Just like, do you know what I mean?
I think as well, see, because he's a Lib Dem, like he's probably perceived as being like left leaning in the US.
Oh, well, yeah, a million percent. Why? Because he doesn't want, like, it could be literally anything. If he was like, oh, do you know what, the idea of socialised healthcare sounds alright. We've got it over there. Everyone's like, what?
Yeah.
Jim?
Well, yeah, like the standard of debate or politics in the US is just so far to the right that you can like just chuck Nick Clegg in, like, oh my god, a left winger.
Che Guevara. You've got a T-shirt of Nick Clegg with like superimposed on Che Guevara's face, though. Don't you?
Yeah, I do. And I always like. I've also got like a like a really tall mirror, and I just like stand in front and just have a big wag to Nick Clegg being chief.
Wait, what?
I thought we were just telling lies.
Cut.
Ugh.
Cut.
So yeah, you know what's quite scary? This is the first time that there's been operating nuclear plants in a war zone.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, mate, I That's not fun.
Yeah, that's not fun. Yeah, you're not laughing now, are you?
No, I'm not. Thanks for that. You've actually brought me right down to earth there. With I'm like a thud. Right, nuclear war. Yeah,
No, not even
nuclear war.
not even nuclear.
Nuclear mismanagement.
Yeah, that's
Do
scary.
you know what I mean? Like I saw this was a clickbait article, but I actually read it, and it was
So it was effective.
Yeah, it was like the headline was, what was it? It was like gamma radiation spike near detected at Chernobyl after Russian troops move in.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and the article goes on to say that it was just from one like sensor, like monitoring for radiation. Like one sensor on the full of like the Chernobyl. I don't know, like I don't know if it was the perimeter or just like within that area. But they reckon it was only one that went off, and the other ones, maybe one or two or something, but the other ones were all right. And they reckon it's just like, see, because there was like movement going through the area.
Just like disturbed all the particles and
disturbed the radioactive dust.
I thought a lot of it was underground as well, the radiation.
Well, it will be, but did it not blow up?
Yeah, it did.
But like came out.
Yeah,
came up.
I think they found like radiation particles in sheep in Scotland, like months after it happened. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. But Russia now control like Chernobyl, which is nuts.
I know. That's what. Yeah, that's like the worrying thing is it's less like nuclear mismanagement, more any sort of conflict going on around nuclear power stations.
Yeah.
I then also, do you know, part of me thinks no, because no, that's nonsense. Because there could still be a nuclear disaster. I was going to be like, is that like hyping things up as well when we hear things about that? Because like,
I think it's a legitimate thing to be scared about.
Why would you be, mate? Why would you be fighting? Why would you be fighting and like? Surely you both feel like no. Right, hold on.
I know,
over
like
there.
this is going too far.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why. See, every day, like new things like that coming out. I just wish everybody would calm down for a second and think about what's happening.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Yeah. There's no excuse for it. And I know that obviously the voices that should be centered in this whole conversation are obviously people in Ukraine and obviously like Russian people who are resisting Putin and standing up against the tyranny of the Russian government.
Yeah.
But at the same time, this is a Scotland podcast, so I think it would be wise to discuss the implications that something like this could have on us living here. And it freaks me out so much that like 30 miles away, there's 200 nuclear bombs that are, all of them are like 8 times as powerful as the ones they dropped in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Yeah. And to think that the UK are probably, I don't know. Just there's a lot of people saying that we should be involved, which that is the last thing that we need. Obviously, a lot of English people will be like, yeah, we should send troops or whatever, but they're fine because their biggest city isn't fucking 30 miles away from 200 nuclear bombs. Do you not think that means that we've got like such a massive target on our back?
I don't know, because right, do you think the first sort of say things escalate massively and we start to get into like long range missile strikes and the UK being under threat? Do you do you think the UK would be the first target?
Maybe not the first target.
The only reason, like, because I obviously share the same concerns as you, right? But the only reason it's me trying to make myself not panic is think about like, right, let's think about things like sort of logically. Would we be the first target, or like, oh man, I don't know. Do you think? Oh, do you think we've sort of transcended? Not transcended. Sort of started to move away from nuclear warfare, like actual all-out nuclear warfare, or do you think it's still?
See,
It's still
yesterday I would have said yes, but then today, you read the article. Putin has ordered his military command to put Russia's nuclear deterrence forces on high alert.
I know,
Like,
but like I'm surely. I mean, these guys' end game. It's all about money, and
yeah,
I mean, once you start going down that route, then you're not going to be making much money. You're going to, like, as soon as one nuclear bomb drops, there's surely going to be another.
yeah. But it doesn't.
And
That's what my concern is. It doesn't even have to be a nuclear bomb. I reckon. Like, say they just fired. This is probably. Let's just preface this by saying that we know fucking nothing about this. And like how these weapons work.
Nobody knows anything about anything.
I know, but I just don't want to act like I'm an authoritative voice on this when I actually have no idea.
This is just us chatting.
Yeah, but like at the same time, surely if they just dropped massive bombs on fast lane, would that not be enough to cause a reaction? Obviously, the missiles are like deep underground in that, but
how do you know that?
I've heard the stories.
Like, I know nothing about fast lane other than when you drive by it, it's like it looks like student accommodation.
They fire gamma rays at you.
They fire gamma rays at you?
See, I went to the CND Peace Academy in 2018, and the British Army bought a house behind the peace camp. Like part of it was you went to the peace camp and you seen around that, and then they took you up to fast lane, like to the main gates and that. And they were saying it used to be like a Catholic boarding school or something, and the peace camp would find like little kids that have ran away, and they would like give them money and put them on a bus and that. Which is wild in another story for like later, right? But
wait, what?
I know, I mean, it's so nuts.
Is that what you said there?
What, the wee house?
Yeah.
I think the British Army bought it off the church, and it looks abandoned, but the British Army own it. And when
were the children? Was that?
I think that was from like,
it was abandoned?
Yeah, because the peace camp has been there since like the 80s or something.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't even know if it was abandoned, but
because I'm just worrying about ghost children.
Why are you worrying about ghost children?
You
live nowhere. You're nowhere near the peace camp.
I'm not worried. I'm not like worried about my safety. I'm just worried about where this story's going.
Well, basically, what I was saying is like after the British Army moved in and bought that house behind the peace camp, people that stayed at the peace camp started reporting strange illnesses and being unwell and feeling sick. And they were people were trying to say it was like rays and that being fired at them. Like, you know how Havana syndrome?
No.
Oh, have you not read about Havana syndrome? It's like after the US and Cuba normalized diplomatic relations, they obviously had like an embassy in that in Havana, and they start like the people that worked in the embassy started reporting the same kind of illnesses and saying that they were like firing rays at them, or I don't know what kind of rays it is. Hold on, actually, just look it up right now because it's pure wild. Obviously, don't even trust what the US are saying either. Havana syndrome is an alleged set of medical symptoms of unknown causes experienced mostly abroad by US government officials and military personnel. So it started in Havana, but then it got reported in China and India and Europe.
That's scary.
Yeah. I don't know
never driving I'm never going past there again.
Mate, it actually freaks me out so much, that whole
It's
place.
scary, and to see
It's
like
so eerie, like especially walking about it.
seeing like a navy base. It's kind of mental. Although I do like big boats.
Do you like big
So
boats?
see when you see like a big boat, you're like, whoa.
I,
Do you know what you
I,
must know what I mean by that?
nah. I,
Mate,
genuinely though, like I don't.
what about like cruise ships? You remember when the cruise ships were at
I hate
during
them,
COVID
mate.
were parked? Do you not think right? I hate them. Why? Do you not think they look cool? They're like big boats. See if you seen like like a giant car, would you not be like impressed by it?
uh, depends. Well, like, not really. No, what you're
That's
describing is like monster
that's
trucks.
right. No, bigger than monster trucks. Mate, have you seen the size of cruise ships
Yes, I've
and
seen the
like
size of.
warships?
Yeah, they're disgusting, mate. Do you think they seem like the worst thing ever? Just being trapped in a boat.
I think
Oh,
the
no.
worst thing ever: submarine, being trapped in a submarine underwater.
Actually, I think the worst thing ever is like the war that's happening in Ukraine
Yeah,
right now.
yeah. Wait, stop! We're like
What?
trying to like
You're
just
trying to have a
grasp a
seat.
little bit out,
You're
a
trying
little
to
bit
have
of
a seat.
escapism.
All right. Well, I don't care. No, I don't care about big boats.
Okay.
Oh, I can't even remember why I brought the CND Peace Academy up now.
We were talking. we were talking about. You said something about gamma rays being shot at you because we're talking about. We were talking about like the Faslane being attacked.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you know what I was thinking as well? Actually, do you think that obviously the SNP and the Greens have said that they're going to have an independence referendum next year?
yeah.
Do you think that's still going to happen? I can see, see, looking at Nicola Sturgeon's Twitter, she's pure aligning with the kind of the NATO line on this.
Yeah, but
Which
she's not
is
going to be in
worrying.
power
Would you mean next year?
necessarily. No, if in an independent Scotland. So
Yeah, no, I know, but what I mean is, like, do you think they're even going to continue ahead? They were trying to push through. Well, they were putting through the legislation for an independence referendum next year, but do you not think because of this, it would be political suicide essentially because of how well the propaganda from the West has been in regards to NATO and all that? Do you think it would be political suicide for them to try and split up from the UK right now?
I don't know. I think I think it could potentially be mate, it depends on the situation next year. Like you know that it's things change so quickly, and as soon as something's done, or as soon as like the media think that the public has lost interest in it, we'll just see like less and less about it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But this also could be, mate, I don't know. It's plain politics. Like you never know, but they could also be seeing this as like we'll try and sneak this legislation through, while attention is on like something else happening. I don't know. I don't really know like the sort of intricacies of politics at that level, obviously. But I don't know. I reckon they'll see their position as still being strong when they have. I don't know the constant like. It's been a bit flippant, but gaffes by like the Westminster government.
Nah, you're right.
Um,
You're right,
it's like
because even with like the refugee stuff that's going on just now, like the UK were saying, like they've just made it so difficult for Ukrainian refugees to come here, whilst simultaneously lighting up
yeah,
all their buildings blue and yellow, as if that's
yeah,
going to
and
make a difference.
they've made their own sort of bed. I reckon people because they've made such an enemy has been made out of Russia by like our media, obviously. I think like with what it's been like the way that things are being like portrayed, people want to like they want the UK to get involved. So the UK like saying they'll help by taking refugees in and not doing it, and saying that they're like they're sending like pictures of them sending stuff over, and it coming out that it was like faked. is going to piss off the people that would probably have been on their side like up until now. Do you know what I mean? Like a small proportion of them at least.
Yeah. It's such an irrelevant discussion in terms of all this, but I do think, I mean, just now it feels irrelevant.
Yeah, but it's still, I mean, it's what's going on here. It's currently our reality. The way that like our country's fucking dealing with the what's going on in Ukraine just now. So you kind of need to talk about it.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah, I don't know what the impact of this will be. Like, I just can't see the SNP. Like, it's just such an increasingly neoliberal project. I can't.
The SNP.
Yeah, I can't see them doing anything that.
Doing anything right?
Yeah, doing anything right, but anything that rocks the boat in terms of that. Did you read?
But if it gets some independence,
yeah,
or another shot at it, because see if they get it through and they get a vote like approved,
yeah,
then they can start being super careful and super like, don't rock the boat in that campaign, because everything before the political campaign starts just gets forgotten. Do you know what I mean? The same with elections.
yeah. Why is that so fucking daft?
It's propaganda and spin.
Yeah, I suppose they get paid a lot of money for a reason, though.
What were you going to say?
I can't remember. What was I going to say? What were we talking about?
No. You were. I feel like it was like a subject change.
Oh, really?
That's what it sounded like to me.
Nah, I think it was to just talk about the SNP more and how fucked up they are. But I feel like we've sufficiently covered that.
Yeah.
But I feel like the fact that I can't remember what I was going to say means you probably covered it. Did you hear about the 15 landlords owning 5,300 properties in Edinburgh?
I'm not surprised in the slightest. I feel like I've heard figures like that in like other cities.
Yeah, like Dublin and shit. I know Dublin's really bad. They get a pure Airbnb crisis. I was thinking this in the motorway today. I don't know why I put that. That was like such an irrelevant piece of information. The location of where I was thinking this.
What were you doing in the motorway?
Just driving, mate. Plain tig. No, I was driving along and I was looking at the buildings, and you know, like the Stowe College bit of the M8, and there was like all these like kind of all the tenement buildings, but also the kind of old factory buildings and stuff like that were there that are all that kind of style. And then it was contrasted with the new buildings that they've put up that's all like a student accommodation in that. I don't really know if Glasgow has a kind of Airbnb crisis in the same way that Edinburgh does, but I feel like we have a pure student accommodation crisis. The only houses I see that's getting built is student accommodation.
Yeah, see the one. It's really upsetting as well when see the one. See that part of the motorway you're talking about.
Yeah.
Just before Charing Cross or just after, depending if you're coming from the south side. Have you noticed that like the huge giant block of student accommodation where you can like see all the windows, and it's a big tower. They're still like, I think that's like finishing. Maybe they've just finished parts of it. But
the one just after Charing Cross.
Yeah,
that was the exact one I was at, and I was like, "That's mental."
Yeah, it's crazy looking, and it's huge, and it's fucking. It's see when you're at the you know where the canal ends up at Spears Wharf.
Yeah.
And you have that sort of like vantage point looking out over like the southwest of the city.
Yeah.
That has completely sort of like was a bit like blocked off, like that chunk of it. It's so
really
distracting. Yeah, like I remember being up when they were, I think, starting to build it. You know, when they put the foundation and they put the big poles in for like it gives the structure the shape and stuff like that. I think I saw it like that before there was any sort of exterior put on the building, so it wasn't that distracting. But I was like, no way is that going to be like a big giant building, and then passing it, you see how big it's actually going to be, and then being up after it's been finished, it's so shite to see in the city.
I know.
Not even from like a housing crisis point of view, but just from like a aesthetic point of view.
Yeah, but obviously prioritising the housing point of view.
Obviously, but like
I would much rather it wasn't student accommodation. I would much rather it
yeah,
was like what Glasgow needs in terms of
but
social
that's my
housing.
overall point. You know what I mean? That's my overall point. There's like social housing should be sort of like built into how the city sort of works and looks.
Yeah.
As part of the city, not just getting like private firms to come and throw up a big.
Why do you think they get away with that?
Make money.
I know, but like, at what level? Like, that's what I was thinking. Because see, when you drive around Edinburgh's nothing like that. Like,
been protected.
Yeah, they've like proper preserved all their tenement buildings and all that.
Yeah.
Whereas Glasgow hasn't. It's just like.
I think Glasgow's such a pure gorgeous city. Like, see when you see walking from the Tron Gate down Argyle Street, up Buchanan Street, and then up Circuit Hill Street.
Mm-hmm.
Like, some of the architecture there is incredible. Like, it's like looking up, you look at looking at the buildings, you're like, this place is actually
Unreal,
like stunning. It's depressing going through Glasgow like that, and then the merchant city, and then thinking about why it's just so like sort of
100%.
over the top and extravagant. But they've been repurposed now and whatever. And then you get like bits like that just look dreadful. Have you seen the MOD building on the Clyde?
The MOD building?
Yeah, it's down. I think it's down at like Anderson.
What, like this side of?
Yeah, before you go, it's like before you go. I think one of the side before you go under the Kingston Bridge or something like that. It's not really the same, but it's still a pure ugly building. It's like it's that horrible covered
just glass,
in reflective glass. Yeah,
I hate that, man.
I know.
So I was looking at it as well, and there was like a Morgan Stanley building, and I was like, when the fuck did they build that?
There's all sorts there. I reckon. I don't. Oh yeah.
The black one.
Have you seen the? Yeah, you can see it. You can see it from the motorway.
Yeah.
The Barclays, the Barclays buildings as well. They're kind of different. They're in the that part of town as well. Oh, this is
the CBD.
Yeah, I think for us especially, we don't really know any different. So I kind of expect to see buildings like that there, but see when they're just sort of planted in the middle of like nowhere, or in the middle of like where tenements or parks and that are.
Yeah.
It just looks so strange.
Yeah. We must sound like pure old guys, eh? I remember when I was a field, son.
So how young do you think your audience is? I think they're going to be like Gen Zs.
Yeah, our age. That's what I'm saying, though. Like,
I don't know. I think stuff like that's important.
No, 100% is important. 100%. Like, it's so. I just find it so. I always try and figure out at what level.
Like where the corruption is.
Yeah, and it must be council level if Edinburgh looks the way it does and they've preserved their buildings, but Glasgow hasn't. It can't come down to the Scottish Government or Westminster. It must come down to the council level.
Well, I mean, there's all the alleged fire starting from like nuisance buildings that
alleged
yeah
underscore
do you know what I mean? There's been conversations about that and the council's involvement in that for ages, which is actually quite scary to talk about publicly. But who knows? Who actually knows what's going on? It would be interesting to be like fly on the wall in the city chambers.
Do you think even the decisions are made in the city chambers, or do you think they're made in boardrooms? Because see, when I'm like just walking around Glasgow, mate, it feels like big private companies. No, these. I think it's real estate companies that own these parts, own the land,
yeah,
and then sell them. or like
I will be
rent it
into
out.
that. Yeah.
Like I wonder where. I just picture they're sitting in some boardroom somewhere, like with a map of Glasgow, just carving up chunks at each other.
Yeah, it's fucking. That's the same. See. I mean, this conversation started talking about landlords, right?
Yeah.
That conversation feels not smaller but like a different issue to the sort of large scale like acquisition of like areas of Glasgow and like just monopolizing it. Do you know what I mean? It feels different to like to landlords buying up like houses, like actual like houses which have previously been social housing.
Yeah.
I know there will be some sort of crossover where like areas and land are bought by those like big giant companies looking for big sort of multinational banks or whatever. But it feels like there is a difference. It actually, I don't know. It's it's not, but it feels worse. Just because of that, like, well, I think it was worse for me because I live in like a rented house. I pay rent, so it personally affects me.
I think yeah.
I'm not saying that is worse at all. I'm just
I
saying
know,
just
but
from
like
a
see private landlords, they like you can put a face on them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like you've got a
yeah.
phone number and that for them. Like see
I,
with these like corporations that are buying up all of this land and throwing up these big massive glass buildings. It
but
just
that's
feels
why
so faceless.
but I think that's why it's easy not to not to think about it and like deal with it because it is faceless. It feels giant and big and scary. But when you think about a landlord, you can sort of be upset at a person.
Yeah. You just want to pin that cunt to a wall, man.
No, because I do not want to be evicted. I don't know his name. We go through our line and just say "Oomph" as soon as everyone else.
Well, that's not the same as everyone else, but you're.
Do you not think so? Do you not think people looking for flats in Glasgow would go to a letting agency? Because
I know that I did. I actually have no idea why I said that.
I don't like how many people in Glasgow know their landlord because say unless it's like they own like one or two properties and they
Yeah.
rent out themselves. But like when you have these 15 people who have like thousands, they obviously have to have some way of like administrating that.
So essentially, my main takeaway from this conversation is join living rent.
Yeah, do you know I'm glad you mentioned that because that's what I was going to say at some point, and I was like, no, that needs to come up.
It has to come up organically.
Yeah, I can't just be like join living. But renters unions are important. I think that's a cool thing about Denniston. The what? Right, hold on. I've completely blanked in the story. Have you read about this? There was a BBC documentary on Duke Street.
just on Duke Street.
On Duke Street and like the history of Duke Street. And it was talking about how I don't know if this I can't really. Oh, do you know what? I'm not even going to speak about it. We can speak about it another time.
Why?
Because
I want to know.
It's worth at least
Like actually, yeah, like researching
having a look into it and getting to speak about it because it's so interesting.
There used to be a prison on Duke Street, eh?
A prison
Yeah.
down the. I don't know. Oh yeah. Yeah, there did. There used to be all sorts. It used to be the UK's longest street. It's now second to King Street in Aberdeen, I think.
Fuck Aberdeen,
Just
man.
let me know. The longest high street in the UK is Dumbarton Road, which is mad to me because it's not called Dumbarton High Street. It actually annoys me that.
What? Because it's not in Dumbarton?
No, because it's not called Dumbarton. Like, see, being
Oh
like,
right, yeah.
what's the longest street? Oh, it has to be something that ends with street. And then what's the longest high street? It's Dumbarton Road. Nah.
Yeah. I know what you mean. Did you see there's a campaign called Denison Deserves Better?
No.
I only found this like an hour before we recorded this, but I'll send you on Twitter now.
Yeah, please do.
But it's like, I followed it earlier. The bio is highlighting the increasing cuts, closures, and deprivation facing Glasgow's East End. And it's
Nice.
followed by some left wing people that I know.
We were talking about.
Oh my god!
Was it me and you that were talking about community centres? It might have been after you were so impressed with the one that we got our vaccination done.
I can't believe you digged me out for that.
No,
that was funny.
You know, I've not quoted exactly what you said though. So.
We should probably explain it. I'm happy with it.
I don't even really remember exactly what you said. It was just funny, but we were in was it Barmulla Community Centre?
Yeah.
Getting vaxxed, and we were sat and you were like, "This is cool."
No, literally, we were sitting there after getting our vaccinations, and
we need to stop. I feel like we keep on saying the word vaccination, and I feel like it's like anyone listening is going to be like, try.
I thought it sounded like we were kidding on that we had it. We're just making a cover story. Nah. Yeah. After getting them, I just turned around and said, like, that wee period, you need to wait 15 minutes. Yeah. And the wee chairs at the back. And I was just like, yeah, this is a pure community centre. And you just looked at me and burst out laughing.
It's a community centre, mate. It's a big hall with some a big long corridor up to it and some.
Why can't I find you can like big boats, but I can't like a community centre?
That's a fair point. I accept that. And it was. Nah, mate. See if you can find me a community centre the size of a cruise ship. I will take your point. No, see with
big doesn't always mean better.
Okay. No.
Have you seen the state of the Winter Gardens, by the way?
Springburn?
Yeah, not Springburn.
People's Palace?
The People's Palace ones.
Mate, that's so upsetting. Like they just like there was plants there that were like hundreds of years old or like had been there since they were first brought there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they've been there for a long time and they just were left to die instead of being taken somewhere, or at least I don't know, because it was over COVID, right? So I'd probably be like, well, no one was allowed to come into work and stuff. But is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, just like all the plants have died.
Yeah,
it's a pure sad picture.
Devastated. Yeah, it's shite. I used to go there all the time.
So good, eh? I mean, they've finally reopened the People's Palace.
What do you know what it's like? Can you go through to the gardens?
Nah. They've only opened the museum part. They've not opened the Winter Gardens.
That's a good museum.
Oh, it's unreal. It's such an important museum.
Yeah, I'm glad that it's been reopened. I hope there's some sort of at least attempt to bring the Winter Gardens back to some sort of like at least like a tribute to what it was before.
Yeah, it has to be. It's unreal, mate. You don't really realise what these kind of community spaces are until they go.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about talking about community centres and talking about how, I mean, I remember like community centres and community hubs a lot more when I was younger. And then if you pass them now, like either the spaces where they were and they're not there anymore, there's something different, or they're just like empty.
Yeah.
So like it was funny you sitting saying that in the and the
Barmulla one.
Yeah, but it was cool. I told you the last time I was in that community centre, and it's nice to see that there's still functioning. Same with libraries and stuff like that. Like, see when you see a library, you're like, that's cool. That there's like a library here. There's been some like funding given to this to at least keep it going, or if there's any new ones, popping up, it's It's a nice thing to see.
It's a nice thing to see.
There's stuff like that. Like, see people. I find it pure mental. See when people talk about like taxes, and get so whipped up in paying taxes as if like your money's getting bumped from me and for like nothing. And it seems like that when you've got politicians that fucking they do. It feels like it's stolen for them to make more money and them to like appease their interests
and wage wars.
Yeah, but then what? Like, that's what taxes should actually be used for. Like,
community stuff.
Community stuff, public welfare.
That's definitely what I associate them with. Like,
yeah.
See, walking around the People's Palace, you're like, oh, that's cool. I can just walk in here for free. This is a place where I can just come, and you don't feel like you own it.
Yeah.
But you do feel like it's yours. Do you know what I mean? You've got as much of a right to it than anyone.
Yeah. See politicians being like, there's no magic money tree. You can't just have whatever you ask for. That is public money. That's our money.
Yeah, I know.
That should be used for what the public want it to be used for. Like, and then the same politicians that will turn around and use public funds for, like you said, war, and like, I don't know, investment and industries and stuff like that like aren't good for anyone else. It's mental.
It's sad. It's sad. Community spaces are cool. I hope that I don't know. I was going to say, like, I hope the Winter Gardens at the People Palace get restored quickly, but how can you even do that quickly?
Did you ever go to what were they called? There was one behind. Where was that? I feel like it was behind, like, Asda, Bishopbriggs. No, what's what I'm thinking of?
What are you thinking of?
Where you would, like, it was on a Friday night and, like, you'd go with your pals and they'd be like,
a spare bit of ground?
No, it was in a community centre.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. There is one behind us, the Bishopbriggs. The youth cafe.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, a youth cafe. Is that still there?
I don't know. It was like a church space. I don't know if they still use it as a youth cafe, but
that's so weird. Did you go to that one?
I think I went like once.
Oh, you're too cool for it.
Yes. Yeah. I'm not going to expand on that.
Good. Because I went, oh, that's it. Bishopbriggs Youth Cafe. Okay, this has given me none. But stuff like that is mate, it's good to have things like that are available for free. People need to have. That's what taxes are for things for people to do. It shouldn't just be like, oh, you need to pay for everything. We do pay for everything through our taxes, and that's what should be funding. People, like anybody being able to go for it. Like, universality for
our money.
Yeah. It fucking annoys me when I don't know, there's like no funds for things that are important to communities. But then
there is funds, it's just how it's been allocated.
Well, in like Glasgow City Council continuously blame the that bill they were handed after the fair, what was it, the fair wages campaign.
Yeah.
For the workers that had been like underpaid for years and years and years, and they had to pay out like 90 million or something like that, something crazy. They're still paying that debt off. So they're like, oh, there's no money for anything. It was used that fucking fucked up in the first place. So it's us that are now suffering.
Yeah. Dirty bastards.
Do you know when I searched Bishopbriggs Youth Cafe, Delights comes up?
Delights?
Yeah.
That's some good SEO optimizing that they've done.
Yeah. What youth cafe searches?
No, like Delights, like being able to take over that.
Yeah. I don't know how much attention that's getting them.
Pure murdering a youth cafe so they can get some rolls sold. Yeah, I think that wraps up everything that we've been talking about. Oh, sorry, everything in the news, really.
Can you
Obviously,
tell? I mean,
missed so much.
you never told me about the pterodactyl very much. You actually hopped away from it.
Yeah, I don't know, it was just to try and make the conversation a bit brighter. But you're right, I did kind of want to talk about it a bit, but it's not really political, so
That's true.
let me.
Glad you had it in there.
What?
Glad you had it. I'm glad you had it in there. I was so excited about talking about the pterodactyl.
It was in there for like comedic effect. I feel like it fulfilled its role. Giant fossil flying reptile from 170 million years ago, found on Scotland's Isle of Skye. I feel like the writing on articles just now are so bad. Oh, that's cool. They named it in Gaelic. Gaelic.
What did they name it?
Something in Gaelic.
No, what did they name it?
Dirach. So I wouldn't do it justice.
Okay, that's fair.
I
Well,
would
you
not
can
do
learn
it justice.
can learn for next time.
I can admit. I don't think I'd even be able to learn that for next time.
Okay.
How would you even? Does learning Gaelic work the same? Like, see, for learning Spanish, one of the things that's helped me the most in being able to understand a lot of Spanish is learning how all the vowels sound. Because once you know
Right.
that, you can kind of put together all the words.
Yeah.
Do you think you could learn Gaelic in the same way?
I would imagine so. Is there not a lot of vowels?
There's a lot of vowels in Gaelic.
As in vowel dense words.
All right, yeah.
Yeah.
But it would give me a better understanding.
Yeah, it would. It's probably a good idea for next time, so you can say that the name of the pterodactyl.
Wait, so we existed closer to the pterodactyl. No, sorry, we existed closer to the T-Rex than this pterodactyl did to the T-Rex.
That's mad.
That is mad. Do you think Boris Johnson is like a Paleolithic era ape that fell asleep in Siberia and then, like, when the glaciers retreated, he somehow ended up on this island?
No, I think he is a dangerous politician that has tricked people into having these conversations about him instead of taking what he does very, very seriously and viewing it as the threat that it holds to democracy in our country.
Nah, he's a Neanderthal. Do you think that we even have democracy in this country?
Mate, have you got another hour?
No.
I'm sure that will be spoken about.
Yeah, we'll cover that. But yeah, no, genuinely, like, yeah, see all this stuff with Ukraine and people are saying, "Oh, we have to defend democracy." What democracy? Do you know what I mean?
Did you hear me there?
No, what did you say?
I think my mic cut. I said exactly, but I think my mic cut.
Oh, well, you said exactly the same thing, or you said exactly?
I said exactly.
All right, okay.
No, I said exactly the same thing.
Okay, I believe you. But yeah, no, I think that wraps up everything in the news. Was there anything that you wanted to add about the pterodactyl?
No, I'm just excited to hear you say his name to me next time.
His name?
Their name?
Patriarchy much?
I know, sorry.
Sorry, let you have it. Yeah, I think that covers everything. Is there anything else you want? Not just about the pterodactyl?
No. No, I don't think so.
Okay, well, I feel like we had a very successful first episode of In the News. I feel like we covered a lot.
Yeah. Enjoy it, Matt.
Enjoy editing that, mate.
Yeah.
I'm actually really scared to listen to it back. If we came across flippant about any of the issues, I'm literally gonna. No, I can't say what I was gonna say.
I mean, are you gonna think? I would maybe think back to the our Nick Clegg conversation just as a start.
That's staying in and getting the volume turned up, if anything.
Okay.